Good morning, students. So far we are completed unit 1 in 12th standard biology. So in unit 1 we have completed 4 chapters. Chapter 1, reproduction in organism. Due to COVID-19 situation, reproduction in organisms lesson is deleted. Then second lesson, second chapter, reproduction, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. And third chapter, human reproduction, and the fourth chapter, reproductive health. So far we have completed in first unit 4 chapters. So first unit for your annual examination, CBSE board examination, totally 14 marks. No chapter wise weightage, only unit wise weightage is present. So 14 marks from the first unit. So far we completed in first unit, we are eligible to appear 14 marks in your board exams. Then the second unit, normally unit number 7. Why unit number 7 means 11th and 12th biology book is combined book. So first 5 units in 11th standard and the second 5 units in 12th standard. So in 12th standard unit number 2, but in your NCERT that is unit number 7. First 5 units in 11th standard, 6th unit we finished and the 7th unit now moving. In 7th unit, first lesson, principles of inheritance. Actually chapter 5, principles of inheritance. Then second chapters in second unit, molecular basis of inheritance. And the third chapter, evolution. So the third chapter, evolution, is deleted. So first chapter in the second unit, principles of inheritance and variation. And second unit, principles of inheritance and molecular basis of inheritance, only 2 lessons in the second unit because third lesson is deleted. In second 2 lessons, total marks for your board examination 18 marks. So far we have completed first unit, only 14 marks. Now second unit 18 marks. So the 18 marks is important because last 3 lessons for the 14 mark, now only 2 lessons for 18 mark. So this lesson, principles of inheritance and the second chapter, molecular basis of inheritance, is important for your board examination. So what is meant by inheritance and what is meant by variation? Inheritance is nothing but how characters are passed from one generation to next generation. Is technically known as heredity. Heredity is nothing but the branch or the topic which deals how parental characters is inherited to the next generation. The character, the particular topics deals by that known as heredity. Heredity is nothing but how parent characters are inherited from one generation to next generation. This is known as heredity or inheritance. Next one is variation. Variation is nothing but how parents or how children is different from the parents. Normally, due to this sexual reproduction, variation occurs. We already studied in chapter 2 and chapter 3. Due to sexual reproduction, variation occurs. Variation is nothing but how the children is different from the parents. That is known as variation. In this lesson, we are deals what is meant by inheritance and what is meant by heredity and what is meant by variation. How Gregor Mendel, how it is performed in genetic research and what are all the laws proposed by the Mendel and sex determination in human beings and other animals and Mendelian disorders and the chromosomal disorders. So various topics in this lesson, that is principles of inheritance and variation. Normally in heredity, what is meant by heredity? Heredity, normally one character is passed on to the next generation. Normally, how the characters are passed from one generation to next generation? Due to genes. Genes, you know, what is meant by gene? A segment of DNA. Segment of DNA which controls the characters. Normally, you know, this is actually the eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic animal cell. Normally, the animal cell contain nucleus. The eukaryotes means, you know, prokaryotic organisms not contain a well developed nucleus, but eukaryotic organisms has well developed nucleus. This is actually well developed nucleus. Cell membrane, you know already the structure of animal cell. Cell membrane and the nucleus. Nucleus contain nuclear membrane and the nuclear pore and chromatin reticulum or chromatin thread and then nucleolus. Okay, the chromatin reticulum, this is actually chromatin reticulum. This is expanded view of chromatin reticulum or chromatin thread. The chromatin thread only slowly during mitosis division slowly converted into chromosomes. This is actually chromosome. I already studied in 11th standard. This is chromosome. Okay, chromatin reticulum present inside the nucleus only slowly changes into chromosomes. So, where DNA are present? DNA is a structure, it is a chemical structure, deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid present inside the chromatin reticulum. We have explained or studied the chromatin reticulum. This is a part of the chromatin reticulum. The particular part is expanded, means the chromatin reticulum is nothing but which contain DNA. It's actually DNA. DNA is present inside the chromatin reticulum, is actually present inside the chromosomes also. DNA are present inside the chromosomes or inside the chromatin reticulum. Chromatin reticulum normal interphase stage. Normal interphase means already I have studied in 11th standard. Interphase is nothing but the stage in the cell which the mitosis not occurs. Normal cell, developing cell is known as interphase. During interphase, only chromatin reticulum or chromatin thread only present in eukaryotic cell. The chromatin reticulum inside only the DNA present. DNA we know it contain many nitrogen bases like adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, adenine, thymine, variety of nitrogen base are present. The structure of DNA, structure of chromosomes are studied next chapter. Okay, so where the DNA present means inside the chromosomes or inside the chromatin reticulum. During cell division means inside the chromosome only DNA present. During normal cell means the DNA present inside the chromatin reticulum. Okay, inside the DNA or the segment of DNA, for example, this is DNA, the segment. So, actually this is segment, a part is known as gene. Gene is nothing but the segment of DNA or the part of DNA which inheriting the character, one particular character from one generation to the next generation. Okay, what is meant by gene? Gene is nothing but the segment of DNA which inherit the character from one generation to next generation. Normally, human cell, human single cell contain approximately 25,000 to 30,000 genes, not one or two genes. Imagine one single cell contain 25 to 30,000 genes. Okay, genes is nothing but the part of DNA which controls the character, which inheriting the character from one generation to next generation. Say some examples of character. If a curling hair, one character. The parent contain curling hair means the next generation. Some persons contain curling hair. The curling hair character from one generation to next generation passed due to gene. For example, one parent is height tall. The tallness character is passed from one generation to next generation through genes, the segment of DNA. Okay, gene is nothing but the segment of DNA which controls the characters, inherit the character from one generation to next generation is known as gene. Next one is genetics. Genetics is nothing but the study about genes, how genes which controlling the character, how genes inheriting the character from one generation to the next generation, how genes which controls the protein synthesis. All the characters are studied in the topic of genetics. The human genetics are available. Genetic engineering are available in the modern day. Genetic engineering, BA genetic engineering, biotechnology, even bioinformatics also available. So genetics is nothing but the branch of biology which deals inheritance and variation. Generally is study about genes. Genes only controlling the character, genes only inheriting the character from one generation to next generation. So genetics is nothing but the branch of biology which deals inheritance and variation. Inheritance means what? Already I told. Inheritance means how parent characters move from one generation to next generation. The process is known as inheritance. That is heredity, generally known as inheritance. And what is meant by variation? Variation is nothing but variation in the sexual reproduction. Normally variation means a small variation or small changes from parents to the offsprings. Normally children, offsprings is not exactly similar to the parents. Some variations or some differences between parents and the offsprings. So the differences in the offsprings is known as variation. Variation is nothing but the characters difference in offsprings from their parents. The process is variation. So in this lesson, genetics, under the genetics topic, inheritance and variation is nothing but how characters are inherited from one generation to next generation, that is inheritance, how the child, how the offsprings, how the small one, how the young one is variated, differentiated from the parents is known as variation. Normally human knows variations occurs in the sexual reproduction. Variation in the sexual reproduction. Normally human means early human. He knows the variation is due to sexual reproduction only variation occurs. But scientific basis of variation and this particular previous human is not known, but variation is occurs due to sexual reproduction. The particular point is already knew by the olden days humans, which year means 8000 to 1000 BC, before Christ. Before Christ, 8000 to 1000 BC, the year itself, the human news variation occurs in sexual reproduction. But where variation occurs, which structure which controls the variation, the scientific basis of variation is not known by the particular people, but variation occurs due to sexual reproduction. The particular idea is already known by the human, present in the 8000 to 1000 BC before Christ. Then already before years, artificial selection and artificial hybridization, hybrid and other processes already known by the humans. Artificial selection means what? Is nothing but simple. We are in a field of sugarcane. We normally know which sugarcane crop is grow more and yield more, and which sugarcane crops yield less, and which sugarcane plant which produce more sugar These are normally for the simple morphological identification we know. So, with the use of morphological external identification, external appearance, we selecting the best crop. The process is artificial selection. For example, on a small buffalo group, a small cow group, for example 20 cows are present. We normally know as a farmer which cow producing more milk and which cow producing less milk, and which cow has more immune power, more disease resistant power, and which cow has more disease resistant power. According to this idea, we selecting the best cow from this particular group, or we according to this idea we selecting the particular sugarcane plant from this group. We pick the best variety from the one group, and hybrid means perform sexual reproduction in the best variety of another group. For example, Indian cow, high resistance, disease resistant power. A foreign variety of cow which contain more yield, which produce more milk per lactation time. So, it is a desirable character. So, we take high disease resistant power cow, a female, and it get male gamete from the high producing milk cow, male gamete, artificially hybridize the particular cow variety. We introducing a new variety of cow which contain both the characters, which a new variety, new hybrid which contain high resistant power, high disease resistant power, and also high milk yielding power. That is hybrid breed, new variety. So, this idea is already known by the people. So, that the process is artificial selection. Artificially we selecting the best plant or best animal and from the one group. Artificially we selecting the best animal from the other group of the same species, not in different species, same species, and hybrid the best two variety, that is sexual reproduce the best true variety or interbreed the best two variety. We form the new best variety, which the best variety which contains desirable character from one parent and desirable character from the other parent. The new variety is known as hybrid. For example, I give a simple example. And one rice variety, for example IR20, normally we know IR20 rice, which yield more per hectare, but another one rice, for example basmati rice, yield less, but the aroma and the taste and the size of the rice is more. So, we selecting the basmati rice and we selecting the IR20 rice. We hybrid the two rice variety, we introduce a new variety of rice. In the new variety of rice which yield more plus more disease resistant power plus high aroma plus and the length of the rice grains is more. So, we get desirable best variety of rice by hybriding the new two variety of rice. This is known as hybridization. Already the hybridization programs, artificial selection programs of wild cows, normally now only modern days only new variety of cows like Sahiwal, Murag, Jersey, Red Sindhi, Holstein, a variety of cow are present, but in olden days only wild cow are present, Indian variety, indigenous variety. From this wild cow we best two male and female selecting, and the next generation the best yielded cow we producing. The process is known as artificial hybridization or hybrid. Already you know in Indian producing a Sahiwal cow from the Punjab is actually a new hybrid from the wild variety of two variety of cows. That is Sahiwal, a new variety, a breed of cow in Punjab. Okay, that is artificial selection and artificial hybridization. Is already these ideas are known by the olden days people. Next one, and normally the olden days people know about the sexual reproduction in occurs in variation in the sexual reproduction, but the little idea about scientific basis. Scientific basis means where the variation occurs. Normally modern days we know the variation present in the DNA present in the chromatin reticulum, present in the nucleus, but in before or century, before or 200 or before or 500 years, the peoples not know about idea about the DNA, gene and chromosomes and nucleus, no idea about these structures. So that is scientific basis. The people knows variation in sexual reproduction, but not know the scientific basis of variation. Okay, scientific basis of variation means this is not know about genes, not knowing about DNA, not knowing about chromosomes, not knowing about nucleus. The little idea about the scientific basis. Normally people knows the various structures of the variations in sexual reproduction, but the particular olden day peoples not know where the genes are present. Gene only contain some structures. The gene only inheriting the character from one generation to next generation. These type of scientific ideas is not known by the olden people. The scientific idea about first created by the Mendel's laws of inheritance. The person is Gregor John Mendel. Gregor Mendel is already studied in 10th standard. Gregor Mendel is actually a father of genetics. He only proposed various theories regarding genetics. So the person is said to be Gregor John Mendel. Gregor Mendel is father of genetics. He formulated Mendel's laws of inheritance. Normally inheritance we know. Inheritance means what? How the parent characters from one generation to next generation pass on to the one generation to next generation. Mendel created some laws, some rules regarding the inheritance. So the rules is said to be Mendel's laws of inheritance. So various laws are present, like laws segregation, law of dominance, law of independent assortment. In next sections we deal one by one. What are the laws? How the laws are controlling the characters, all the things. So Mendel only the first person is introducing the genes, how genes are controlling the characters, how the characters are passed on from one generation to next generation. Okay, the first person in the genetics. So Gregor Mendel is actually performing research in 1856 to 1863. He performed research in 7 years. Birth actually Mendel story means Gregor John Mendel is actually a monk, like father in the monastery, or particular Mendel father is actually a gardener in the particular church or monastery. Due to this father inheritance some gardening, what is meant by hybridization, what is meant by a new breed, how we introduce a new hybrid variety, the particular knowledge, basic knowledge about hybridization, all generally known from the father of Mendel. So Mendel went to some universities and studied maths and science, but unfortunately they failed in examination. So again returned to the monastery and become a father in a particular monastery. So during these free days, during the time, he performed various research in particularly garden pea plant. Already are studied in 10th standard, Pisum sativum, garden pea plant. In garden pea plant, he performed his research in particularly 7 years. Okay, and identify the 7 characters in the garden pea plant. And what are the characters and what are the structure in the next section, one by one we deal. Then Gregor Mendel is nothing but the father of genetics. If for the first person we perform research in the genetics. Okay, so only the father of genetics, he formulated the law of inheritance in the living organism. First he performed a research in garden pea plant. With this result of the particular garden pea plant research, he formulated laws of inheritance in the living organisms. Okay, why the Mendel get a correct result? Why the Mendel's research is good? Because how the result are correctly formed. First, large sampling size. Mendel selected large group of plants. Large group of plants means large Physum sativum. The various characters are large sampling size, and confirmation done with the test plants. After the result, after he formulated inference with the use of test plant. Test plants again he tested the particular plant. In next section, what is meant test grass and monohybrid grass, we deal one by one. That is test plants means in the dominant, the first generation plant are hybrid with the parent, any one of the parent plant. That is test plants. And artificial pollination and cross pollination, all the events are known by the particular Mendel. Artificial pollination is nothing but, actually garden pea plant is a bisexual plant which contain male gamete as well as female gamete in the single flower. The garden pea plant performs self pollination as well as cross pollination also. Okay, self pollination and the cross pollination also. So, self pollination and cross pollination, he performed artificial pollination. Artificial pollination means that is cross pollination. The various steps in the artificial pollination. In the next section, what is meant by artificial pollination, one by one I deal. Okay. So far we have discussed genetics, it is inheritance and variation, and artificial selections. And variation means what is meant by inheritance, and how the Mendel's introducing a laws of inheritance, and 7 years research, and what are all the positive merits of Mendel's research. Okay, then. So Mendel selected a garden pea plant for his research because the Mendel which seen 7 different types of characters in the garden pea plant, the Physum sativum, and each character which contain 2 versions. For example, stem height which contain 2 versions, tall and dwarf. Some pea plant height is tall, some pea plant height is dwarf. Only 2 versions, no medium heighted plants is not present in the garden pea plant species. And then flower color. Flower color is violet and white. Violet and white means some flowers in the garden pea plant is violet, some plants in white, some flower color. And another one character, flower position. Flower position means axial and terminal. Flower position means this is actually, imagine this is a garden pea plant, leaf. Flower position, axial means in the axis. This is axis. In the axis, flowers are developed. The flower is said to be axial flower. In the axis, flowers are developed mean that is axial flower. And some pea plant, garden pea plant, Physum sativum species, some pea plant flowers are produced in terminal. Terminal means tip of the stem, tip of the branch. Mendel selecting 2 characters in the flower position. Flower position means one type of flowers are present in the axial, that is node region in the particular plant, and one type of flowers are present in the tip region, that is terminal. Up to 2 types of flowers are produced in garden pea plant. And the part shape, part is nothing but fruit shape, fruit external shape. One fruit, for example, one fruit is inflated. Then another type of fruit is constructed. Constructed means shrinked. In some area it is shrinked. that is inflated means first shape, the fruits are bulged, and constructed means fruits are fruit external outer wall of fruits is shrinked, that is constructed, the another one character. Then the part color means fruit color, fruit external color is some fruits are green in color, some fruits are yellow in color, only two variations in the particular. And seed shape means round and wrinkled. Some seeds in garden pea plant is round, some seeds is wrinkled in position. Wrinkled means shrinked, constructed means wrinkled. So some seed shape is round, some is wrinkled. And the seed color means color of the seed. Some seeds are yellow in color, some seeds are green in color. So Mendel selecting 7 different characters, and research also 7 years. Mendel performing research also 7 years, selecting 7 different characters. Each character which contain 2 variations. Stem height, it is one character which contain 2 variants, tall stem and dwarf stem. And flower color also 2 variation, violet colored flower and the white colored flower. Flower position also axial flowers and the terminal flower. And pod shape means fruit shape, outer shape also inflated pod and constructed pod. And the pod color, green color and the yellow color, 2 variations. And the seed shape, round color, round shaped seeds and the wrinkled shaped seeds. And the seed color also yellow and green. Why are tall and dwarf? In the next section I explain. Tallness is dominant and the dwarfness is recessive. Here violet is dominant, axial is dominant, inflated is dominant, green is dominant, round is dominant, yellow is dominant. So only I mentioned in the first part, and the second part is represents a recessive. Recessive means the characters is not expressed in the first generation. What is meant by dominant, what is meant by recessive, all the things we deal in next class. Okay. So Mendel selecting garden pea plant for his research. Mendel selecting garden pea plant because it contains 7 different contrasting characters. In contrasting characters, each character is 2 variations, totally 14 variations, 14 variants are in the garden pea plant. So the Mendel selecting the garden pea plant for his research. So when Mendel's research is not a substantial ideas, not a theory like structure. He performed experiment, hybridization experiment in their own, by their own, and it's formed the theory with the mathematical knowledge.